Cascade Hoops Talk. Join us on Twitter, Cascade Hoop Talk. Also, check out the daily paper at cascadehoopstalk.com. We're here today with Greg Tonagel, a man in a program, Indiana Wesleyan, which needs very little introduction. This program has won, under Coach Tonagel, has won 5 Crossroad League tournament championships, 11 Crossroad League regular championships. Last season, they just steamrolled through the Crossroads League. They've lost a couple of seniors, which we'll talk about, but they bring back Big Maxwell in the middle and, of course, Kyle Mangus. So welcome, Coach Tonagel. Ready for another season. We're entering the 2020-2021 season. How you doing today?
Well, I'm doing good. It's a month ago, I was a little nervous about season, and seems to be a little bit more clarity and momentum that we're going to play some ball this fall and winter.
Absolutely. It's starting to feel like basketball in the air. Let's talk a little bit about how the season ended last year. You went to the tournament with really high hopes. It seemed to me that, I'm going to probably alienate friends here, but it seemed to me that your team and College of Idaho really went into that tournament playing great basketball. I think College Idaho, I have more experience with them. I think they had their best team ever, in my opinion. And I think your team might have been one of your best as well. Talk a little bit about that disappointment with last season, and then how does that steel you or change your approach to this season?
Man, we could probably talk all day on this. And, to your point on, College Idaho and some of the other teams, I think every coach says they don't look at any part of the bracket but theirs. But if we're honest, we know who the great teams are. And I think there were a handful of teams that had went to that tournament last year with the idea that if we don't win it, we're going to be disappointed. Then there's a big collective group that's just happy to be there. That's just a reality, right? Mm-hmm. And I've had teams that have done both. I've had teams where it's like, hey, we made it, good. And I've had teams where we say, this is our year, we need to make a run at this. And that's what, to put the disappointment in perspective, that's why it was so disappointing, because it wasn't just about playing, some more games. It was about potentially winning a championship, ending your season on that high note. And so when we left South Dakota, there weren't words to describe what happened, just the abrupt ending, the walking away from seniors who didn't get a chance to be in that locker room one more time. But if you fast forward now, I don't know what we are, 6-8 months out, man, there just seems to be an intense hunger and a desire to compete. When our guys were allowed to come back and play open gyms late in the summer, they had never been that competitive before. And the only answer that I have is, when something valuable is taken from you, you finally realize what you had, and you don't take it for granted. And so every day we've walked in the gym, I feel like guys have said, let's not take this for granted. Let's go out there and give our all. And so as we approach the season, there just seems to be this renewed sense of excitement to play basketball. That's probably the simplest way to put it.
Oh, I think that's well put. I think that's the most succinct description I've heard of what happened and where we're headed. I think we need athletics for as you say, for the competition, but it just seems to be such an integral part of our society. So I'm very, very happy to see that college sports are starting to come back. So, Coach, you lost some seniors, most notably Cannon Coffey, Tanner Rubio. Can you talk about those guys, what they meant to the program?
Yeah, it was some special guys, and like I said, that's what hurt the most. Hopefully I've got many more years coaching, but those guys didn't. That was it for them. And, a guy like Cannon Coffey, 4-year guy, he's in his 4th year. He's just the model of consistency. Never put up huge numbers, but he was always there and always did what you asked of him. And you don't win championships without a Cannon Coffey. And you talk about a guy that has put time in the gym for this moment. He was in the gym every morning before class. He was often the last kid to leave after practice. I know what he had worked for. And then at Rubio, kind of the completely opposite story. He comes here for 1 year, almost had given up on basketball. Took him a large part of that season to get going, just new system, new mentality. But when he got going, and so did our team. And he had just kind of flipped us to a whole nother level. We won our conference tournament, I think, by an average of 30 points in the 3 games, which was a record. And it was really about the way Tanner had just ignited our offense. He's an elite passer and playmaker. He made me pull my hair out a few times with some of his crazy passes, but he needed that freedom to be who he was, and we had to learn to work together. And I wanted, and what I enjoyed most probably about last year was seeing the game be fun again for him. I mean, when he left his previous school, he just wasn't at a good place mentally, but he was having so much fun. He was playing the game the way it should be played. You leave it all on the floor, you have fun, you got a smile on your face, you're with the guys you love, your teammates, and he was doing that. I just wanted one more chance to see him do that on the big stage in the national tournament.
Yeah, you know, Coach, I had the honor. I interviewed him after the season ended. What a great young man. But I teased him a little bit about that Mount Vernon Nazarene game, which anybody who follows Indiana Wesleyan was a Tannerhead. I think he broke a hand or he had an injury at any rate. And
Yeah.
It took him a few games to get in. And I don't remember, you could probably tell us chart and verse, but I think he turned the ball over 2-3 times, shot an air ball. And I remember watching that game thinking, you know, we'd all been waiting for weeks with it. And I teased him a little bit about it. And he was such a good sport. And I really liked him. He's a very nice young man. You're going to miss him in the locker room.
We're going to miss that personality, and you got to have those guys on the team that know how to keep things lively. You know, you can't be too serious all the time. The tension builds, and Tanner could really cut the tension out of a room by telling a joke or just, you know, cutting up.
You know, before we talk about this season's Indiana Wesleyan basketball team, let's talk for a minute about Evan Maxwell. Just signed a new contract, playing in a top-tier British league. You know, what does that mean for that young man and for your program?
Yeah, very happy for Evan. He had a great year over in Slovakia, and he really earned his stripes. And, you know, that's the hard part is that first year when you get over there and you're in a completely new environment and you have to earn everything. And a lot of guys will either quit after that. And Evan just said, man, this is the beginning. And proved himself, got a bigger contract, a better deal, better club over there in England. And I think it's just a start for him. I think he still can go further. He worked out really hard this summer. He was able to get in our gym, you know, when everything was shut down. And I think we'll be able to catch a few games. They've got a good TV production over there. They do a good job on social media. So, I mean, we'll be watching from afar, but we'll be keeping tabs on him.
Well, Coach, the Crossroads League will be very, very tough, as it always is. Some big news in the off season, probably good news for the Crossroads League. Corey Alford was hired over at Huntington. You know, Coach, that can't be anything but good for the Crossroads League. Really raised, the profile of the league, and I'm sure Huntington will probably be a bit more competitive. What'd you think of that news? I thought it was great news for the league.
It is. Corey's. I've just gotten to know him. Seems like a great guy, and he's going to do a great job. And it really just represents the competitive balance of our league. I mean, every school's in it to win. Every school is really putting forth their best foot. And what it does is it raises the play of everybody. Man, night in and night out. I'm biased, you know, just as you're biased. We know who you're biased toward. The Crossroads is the best league in the country. And I'll give you time to give me your rebuttal. But night in and night out, we just not only the best talent, but, man, the coaching is really, really good.
Yeah, I'll take that. I said from day
rebuttal, okay.
No, but I said from day one, a friend of mine teases me about this. When I first started the show, he goes, I don't know if you can do that. You've been an Oregon Tech fan all your life. And I said, well, the way I'm going to handle this is I'm just not going to hide it because, you know, that's where the love for the game came, right? Growing up in Danny Miles Court. And, you're right. I don't hide that. Yeah, I'm an Oregon Tech fan, always will be, but I just love small college basketball.
Well, hey, after the whooping they put on us in 2019, you can say whatever you want to me. You got bragging rights.
You know, Coach, this season you have a couple of seniors, Michael Thompson III, and, of course, Kyle Mangus, everybody's player of the year, Bevo Francis winner. What a core to build upon. And then you and I talked for a moment, but Seth Maxwell is going to be a junior. I was going through your team, and I thought, no, he couldn't be, but he's going to be a junior. But what a good core to build from.
Yeah, it is a good core, and Seth has really turned a corner this year. Now he's hit some bumps currently with some injuries, and actually he's been out for about 2 months. But up until then, I was making some bold statements about Seth Maxwell. You know, I think obviously Kyle is Kyle, and he's the best player I've ever coached, and probably will be. But I was saying, you know, Seth is making a charge to be the next, you know, big piece to what we're trying to do, and he continues to get better, and part of that's just maturity. He hadn't played a ton. He didn't grow up in Indiana, so he wasn't shooting baskets in the crib like a lot of us have. It just took him a while to develop that, and a part of his passion. Seth just now loves the game, and you can't really force a kid to love the game, but once they do, the bulb kind of goes on, and he's put in a lot of extra work, and he's starting to experiment with his game, and he can do some things that he didn't even know he could do, and it's fun to watch.
I thought his growth from the freshman year to sophomore year was phenomenal. I'd like your opinion.
Yeah, I'll tell you this. So his freshman to sophomore year was just about gaining confidence. He sat behind his brother and his freshman year and was happy to defer to him. But when his brother left, there was a little bit of a mindset of, okay, now it's time to make things happen. Well, then from his sophomore to junior year, in terms of off season, he put on weight, put on some muscle, and I'm excited for him to get out there and show people all the work that he's done in the off season.
So you have Mangus, Thompson, Maxwell, but then you had a couple of freshmen last year, Tim Adukazi and Noah Smith. Coming back as sophomores. Boy, they really performed well last year for you. Do you worry about that sophomore jinx, if you will? They're going to be an important piece for you.
Yeah, I'm excited for those two, especially Noah. Noah had a great year. He was runner-up for Defensive Player of the Year in our league, runner-up to Seth Maxwell, and he just did a great job of controlling things at the point. For a freshman, he is so smart. His basketball IQ is as high as we have, and perhaps one of the highest that I've had. He knows how to make the right play and control things, and that's what you want at point guard. So for him to do that as a freshman, I mean, the game was slow to him as a freshman. It's only going to get better for him. And Tim's really understand how to use his body. I mean, he's a gifted kid with some size, and he's been learning how to play. And so we expect him to, step up into a bigger role this year. And then Michael Thompson was a kid that didn't play much last year. He was a Division II transfer, but this year I expect him to be in the lineup and to have a pretty impactful year for us.
And then, as always, Coach, you went out and you refilled the cupboard. I mean, most notably, you went down to Kokomo out of Northwestern High School, and you got Tayson Parker, an Indiana All-Star, 6'1" guard. And then you went over to Toledo, a kid out of Michigan, Clarkston, Michigan, Dylan Anderson, a transfer out of Division I University of Toledo. What a big pair that is you're bringing in.
Yeah, we were looking for a couple guys to be able to play right away, and Dylan certainly is one of them. Dylan Alderson, he's got 1 year left, so you get that maturity. You get a kid who's played college basketball for 3 years, but also played it at a pretty high level, and he's fit in well, I can tell you that. He's come in. It's always hard for a transfer. They're always trying to make their mark, or maybe they're unsure of themselves. But Dylan has come in and just said, what do we need to do to win? How do I help the team win? And I love when guys come in with that mentality. And then Tayson Parker is a big-time athlete. There's just plenty of upside there. And the nice thing is he doesn't have to come in and make a ton of plays for us because of all the guys we got, but he's going to learn because eventually the ball will be in his hands. He's going to be asked to make a lot of plays, but he's in a good situation where he gets to learn from some really good upperclassmen this first year.
Yeah, and then you sprinkled in a few other recruits there, a couple big bodies, Alex Stoffer, Andrew Morrissey, Nolan Mader, and Nathan Brown. That kind of rounded out your recruiting year. How did you feel about your recruiting year this year?
I like the class. I feel like we kind of addressed various needs, and we got guys that we have like we talked about, the senior transfer. Morrissey is a junior. Now he's going to redshirt. He's a big body. He's going to be a good player. He tore his ACL last year late in his JUCO year, so we're going to redshirt him, but he'll come in the following class. And then we got some nice freshmen, that we get to bring along slowly. So we really did kind of get some diversity and some maturity within the team.
Coach, when I was going through your team, I don't know if people outside of the Crossroads realize this. Lucky Arena, you it's very nice to you. It's very kind to you. In the past 4 years, your record at Lucky Arena has been 65-3. 65-3 in the last 4 years. So my question to you is, what happened in those 3 games? No, I'm teasing. But that's amazing, isn't it?
I didn't even know that. That's a good stat. I'm trying to think who those losses have been to, and honestly, they've probably kept me up all night. To be honest with you. Lucky's been great, and that's going to be one of the things that's interesting this year. I'm thinking of some of the great venues around the country, where your Hustlin' Owls play, the Corn Palace, like with no fans. How different is it going to be? Assuming everybody has no fans or little fans, what does that do to the college basketball landscape? It's certainly different watching, the NBA in the bubble or NFL with empty seats. But to me, that's one of the great things about our sport and our level. Man, when we pack our arenas with students and fans, they're great atmospheres and great basketball. And it might be a little different this year.
Yeah, definitely, because you talked about Oregon Tech. Oregon Tech is a program born by home court advantage. College Idaho, same way. You go over there, it's just packed and loud, and the fans are right on top of you. But there's several places like that around the country, and it really does, bring an advantage. It brings energy. Not only that, it's a lot easier to recruit. People want to play in that atmosphere. So yeah, this year may be just a little different. Before we talk about the start of the season, you when you played at Valparaiso, one of the things you were known for was your free throw shooting. You actually did you set a season record at Valparaiso? Was it a conference record? You had one season you set a record for free throw
percentage. It was a
percentage.
conference record at the time.
So if things ever get boring in the Crossroads League, why don't you go up to Mishawaka and challenge Draben to a free throw shooting contest?
Well, I'll tell you what, he would beat me in a free throw shooting competition. So quick backstory here. Steve Draben and I were high school teammates.
Oh, I didn't know
and
that.
We played so he was a sophomore when I was a senior, and we played for a pretty legendary Indiana high school coach named Joe Otis, who came out of the Valpo Virgil Sweet coaching tree, which Valpo was known, if you're from Indiana back in I want to say it was the 60s, as the free throw shooting capital of the world. They had a specific method that they taught. And you had to go by that method. Well, my coach loved it, believed in it, and I'm not kidding. I bet we spent well over 50% of our practices shooting free throws. We would joke about it, but we wouldn't run offense or play defense. We would just shoot free throws. And you had this rule: if you got on a streak, you got moved to a side basket, and you stayed on that streak. Well, if you hit 100, you got a steak dinner, and anything above that, you just kept going. Well, Steve and I wouldn't say routinely, but often would get above 100. But Steve would break 200.
Wow.
I never broke 200, but Steve broke it a handful of times. And he would spend the whole practice shooting free throws. Coach didn't care. He just loved free throws. We'd be over there practicing. It'd be the day before a big game, but if you were on a streak, you stayed on that streak. And so I think Steve's record here is over 300 free throws in a row at one point. So that kid can flat out shoot some free. He's actually the national Elks free throw shooting champion. There's a thing in the state called the Elks free throw shooting competition. Well, then it goes national, and Steve actually won it at one point. So I'm not going into that battle trying to beat him. Trust me.
Yeah, I think he shot 93% in college for his career, and he told me a story. He told me a story. You probably know this story. Over Christmas break, I think it was Christmas break. He said his dad took him down to the high school. He and his two kids, and I think he either finished third or fourth out of the four, and his dad said, "Well, you might be the best free throw shooter in the country, but you're third in this family." I probably messed the story up. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Coach Draven. Go ahead.
His dad was my assistant coach throughout high school. One of the best coaches I've ever had. So he comes from a great basketball family.
Yeah, I think that's a great Crossroad story, Crossroad League story. Yeah, Coach, just 3 weeks away. You go into battle 3 weeks away, and you always start tough. Olivet Nazarene, Cornerstone, Indiana Tech, and Madonna, just to get things rolling. What do you believe it's going to take? You have every year is a different team, different personality. What is it going to take for your Wildcats to really compete this year in the Crossroads?
Well, today was our first practice. We went early morning this morning, and if you'd have seen us in practice, I wouldn't take our team over my son's sixth grade team right now. We were throwing the ball all over the place, and we're good defensively for about 5 seconds, and then we go back to our open gym habits. So it reminded me, honestly, that it is a process, and every year is a new team. I mean, yeah, we got Kyle Mangus, and I think Kyle knows how to play, but the other guys got to learn how to play around him and play with him, and you're always fitting in new pieces, and it's just going to be different. We're not a team that runs the same thing every year because we have different players every year. And as much as I'd like to tell you, hey, this is how it's going to look in the middle of January when we really need it, it's got to develop on its own. And I'm anxious to watch that play out. It's kind of the personality of the team. What's going to be the personality of this team and what's the character of this team? And that happens through both good and bad. It's going to take some early losses probably to really drive us, bind us together, make us a deeper team, a tougher team. But through that, I think we're going to find out who we are. And I like the potential upside of this team. I feel like we're pretty versatile, not only with Kyle, what he can do, but you have the size and Seth Maxwell and the heady guard and Noah Smith that we've talked about. But that's a process to be had, and it's a good league. And I think that's one thing our league does. It brings it out of you. We're going to be pushed by so many teams. And even our non-conference, you and I were talking beforehand, I don't do the scheduling, but every time I read it, I go, well, who made this thing? And what are they trying to do to us? But in the end, I think that prepares us.
No, most definitely. Coach, before I let you go, Kyle Mangus won the Bevo Francis Award for last season, best small college basketball player in the country. Well-deserved. Just a fantastic young man. Can you just talk about him winning that award and, what it means for him, what it means for your program?
Yeah. It's amazing because I get a lot of questions about Kyle, but I'm never sick about talking about that kid because he's a 1 in a million kid. Amazingly talented. There's not enough superlatives to be able to describe what he does. But what continues to blow my mind is the humility in which he does it. He is a team guy. He really loves his teammates. He constantly defers to them. At the end of the day, he wants to win more than he wants to break all these records. By the way, he's going to continue to break a bunch of records. But he's just a kid you love to coach. And I want to make the most of this last year for that reason because it's going to be hard to ever find another Kyle Mangus. For me as a coach, he's a once-in-a-generation kid to coach.
I've told the story before. I think I said it to you before. I heard it one time, and it just stuck with me. Kyle Mangus will run over to you, shake your hand before the game, tell you how excited he is to play you, drop 50 on you, run over afterwards with a big smile and tell you how tough you were.
That's a good way to put it. He is the ultimate competitor.
And he never shows up. What I love about him, he never shows anybody up, ever. He's just 100% class. And he's definitely competitive, but he's an amazing player, amazing young man, and look forward to one more year with him. And the rest of the Crossroads will probably throw a party when he leaves.
Yeah, nobody else is looking forward to this year and wants him to stay, but man, I sure do.
Well, Coach Tonagel, I really appreciate you taking the time. We're kind of putting our foot back in here. Looks like we're really going to play basketball. I'm excited about it. I know you are. And thank you very, very much for taking the time today.
Well, thanks for having me, and appreciate all you do for NAI basketball, and we look forward to another good year.
Okay, thank you, Coach.